Easy people.
We are your hosts, Taylor and
Enrico.
this is Unfiltered Conversations,
Global.
where we have the conversations that you want to have.
But you don't.
We have the conversations that you should have,
But you don't.
and the conversations that you overall just avoid. So jump in with us today for this episode of
Unfiltered Conversations Global.
So you guys might see, we look a little different right now. We're missing two people. We are resuming our previous episode on drug addiction, alcohol addiction, recovery, addiction overall. We're very glad to have you guys back for the second part of this episode. Like, comment, let us know what you think, engage in the conversation. Here is the final half of drug addiction and alcohol addiction.
When you'd be broke, you don't have money for food, but you have money for drinks and money for weed. And I remember among my friends would be like, Missy Mamako, I'm not your mother, I don't buy you food. I'm your drinking buddy, I buy drinks. Your mother buys you food, I don't buy you food. You know, you can't shine at Carnival with 200 bob.
Yeah.
You can't ball in an upmarket place with 1,000 shillings. But if I go to a Chang'an den with 500 shillings, I'm king.
You are the bazoo.
I'm the bazoo. People have to listen to me. It's like in a sci-fi movie. I didn't know which drink would put me over the top. Because one day, I'd drink a liter of whiskey. I'd be fine. And the other day, I'd drink a quarter and be blacked out for a day.
Yep.
Couldn't figure it out. It was like
The quality,
You
man.
better
The
keep doing your
quality.
experiments to figure it out.
yeah, so you're forever experimenting. Maybe it's because I smoked too much weed first. Alcohol doesn't bring out the best in people.
Yeah.
So generally, like if you are in drinking circles, violence is a part of your lifestyle.
Whether it's violence or drama.
Yeah,
With
violence.
women, it'll be drama. Like proper drama.
I didn't drink a
stole
lot
my
with
man.
women.
For women, it's proper drama. And I mean, of course, I think for men, it'll be violence. So when we drink both men and women, you'd notice like, wow, there's so much anger in
Yeah.
Why are you talking with my man?
Exactly. Yeah, and I actually started to kind of research about that. And there's, you see the way there's idols is also like a god of the night. And this god of the night, he roams around like places where people are drinking or partying and feeds off of that energy. So whenever there's fights, whenever there's abuse, rape, stuff like that happens when there's drugs involved, he feeds off of it. So by the time you're done, you're feeling so drained. But you're not realizing, I'm giving my energy to a certain entity. And you don't really know it. And people my age, youth, they don't understand and know this. That's why we find ourselves, observe, especially during full moon nights. Clubs are full, packed. Why? Whenever there's a full moon, energies are high. The water in the ocean also rises. So energies are high. If your emotions are high, that means if you're not stable, if you're always angry, that's where you're going to be.
Maybe you're high, maybe you're drunk, your inhibitions of drugs. You're
You're
willing
inhibi-
to punch that guy that looked at you funny. Like,
Yeah.
Exactly.
All of a sudden you
Yes.
feel like,
I'm invincible.
I am completely
Always
invincible.
gonna be like-
And
it's
so
like-
does he.
Yeah, you're both like, we can do
Oh,
this.
yeah, we can do this.
It's always going to be
fighting in
like
slow
that. So
motion.
if your energy, if your emotions are high, they'll be heightened. If you're a happy person, you'll be a happy person. But if you're a really sad person,
It goes down.
it's the same. So I just observe that maybe later on in your own time. But yeah, so that was my life. So I started kind of just getting into like awakenings, spiritual awakenings, and I realized the more I drank and stayed in such spaces, the more I would see things, and I was just like, how am I here? Who am I? Like, I would be like, God, I know there's a purpose for me, but like, why am I stuck here? And the thing is, I'd always find myself just taking myself to buy. Or even to the point where now I made the conscious decision. I'm like, I'm quitting smoke. Now people want to call me up and be like, yo, what's up? Can we come to your rooftop? I want to, nataka kuchoma. I want to burn you. And I'm just like, what? I'm like, you come, but...
Last week when you were broke,
there was
no one.
Nobody. No one's calling your phone when you want a smoke. But the moment you choose to stop, it's like...
There's everyone.
It's like the enemy's like, okay, so let's see if she's really
Yeah.
going to stop or not.
Well, yeah, because there's the spiritual aspect of it.
Yeah.
That, when you get sober, you decide to change your life. We have an enemy.
Yeah.
That one is not theoretical, and you get that people buying you liquor.
Yeah.
Buying you better liquor than you ever drank. Like 2 weeks ago, I was drinking Changa, and now somebody's over here buying you Johnny Walker.
Man.
I'm like, I got sober like 3 days ago.
You're
You
like,
know?
I'll start again.
God.
I'll just start again tomorrow. Yeah. So it was very, I think for the longest time, I refused to admit to myself that it was addiction,
Yeah.
because I was like, nah, I can't be addicted. It's not me. Like, I'm in control. Like, I know my drinks. I say stop when I stop.
And most people normally tell themselves, like, we are in control of this until you get to realize you're not in control.
At all.
And you haven't been for a very long time.
Yes.
Exactly.
But also the point is,
Yeah.
if you're trying to control something,
Yeah.
chances are it
You
was
don't
out
have
of control.
Yep.
Because people who are in control of their drugs and alcohol don't have this conversation.
Yeah.
Because they're in control.
People who are social drinkers, people who have a glass of wine with dinner or a beer watching a game, they never think, I should control this thing. And if you talk to like people who don't have a problem drinking and you ask them, when's the last time you had a drink? I don't know. Because it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I know when I had my last drink.
Yeah.
Because it's an issue.
Yeah.
People who
I
don't
remember
have
too.
drinking issues,
They don't
I think
remember.
I had a beer
Like,
2 weeks
Yeah.
ago.
And I have it probably
Yeah,
frequently.
I had one, or maybe
A
I
wine.
had two, and they can leave half.
Or I opened my fridge and there was some spoiled juice. And I didn't know it.
And they can have half a beer.
Yeah.
Those are the weirdos.
So, hey, guys, we're just in a very hot space where we're talking about these vices that are in the community. And at least there's some questions that people have been asking, and because we've talked about something, I know there's one that is directed to you, a guest, that says to our guest, can you share your experience with addiction and what you've learned along the way? So it's more like, what have you learned along the way in this journey of addiction? And my co-host...
But we're letting them,
Yeah.
everyone is hanging.
Yeah.
We don't know the rest of the story.
Yeah,
How about sitting here?
we are coming to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we are coming to that. We are just jumping something in as they've talked. What
So
have they...
Before you get sober, what are you learning
Yeah.
about yourself?
Yes.
Like,
Oh, when I was drinking?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
You weren't finding yourself?
No, man. I started drinking when I was 14.
Wow.
I started drinking and getting high when I was 14. I didn't know anything about myself. All I knew is if I feel good, I drink to make me feel better. If I feel bad, I drink to stop me feeling bad.
Yeah.
And I never went to any sort of depth about, is this depression or is this self-pity?
Why am I feeling this?
Why am I... No, Sangap. Sorry, man. If the concept of being self-aware or sort of emotional growth or emotional intelligence, I have gotten while sober.
Oh.
Yeah, and there's good research to suggest that for addicts and that when the alcohol or the drug starts working, that's when your maturity stops. So I started drinking at 14 and it started working. So I stopped at 14. So in a lot of ways,
It's very hard to graduate campus at 14.
yeah, I'm growing up from 14. The time that I've been sober is now that I'm growing up from a 14-year-old teenage boy. That's when I'm learning a lot of things.
So in that state, there's nothing that you can learn at all. Yeah.
No.
Because that time you're like 20.
And also, I'm using this thing, now I see it. Then at that time I didn't see it. So, like, let's say I'd go to a party, in high school parties and stuff like that, and there'd be alcohol somewhere, and I want to talk to a girl. And I don't have, the courage to do it. And I drink something, and now I have the courage. And then I go and say
even
absolute
recite a poem.
nonsense.
Your smoothest line.
But it's my smoothest line. And all I remember is I was smooth.
You don't care.
Whether or not it worked. I don't have the memory of the feedback from the lady. But my point is that I used these drugs and alcohol as a crutch. So it impeded my growth. It impeded any sort of like mental maturity that I would have had. So when you ask me what was I learning when I was getting high,
There was nothing.
I was learning how to get higher.
You've heard that.
Learning how to get higher.
You've heard that. And the other thing that they've asked
hold on.
is
Not
Thank
Joy.
you. Okay, so I think I used to do yoga at the time still. So I would argue that I was actually in a walk space in my life, enlightened, because I'm practicing yoga. But really, it's counterintuitive, counteractive, because I'm doing yoga, but I'm also doing a very low vibrational drug. So it's like, how am I helping myself? Yeah, I learned that I can be a very ugly person with drugs. That's what I learned. I also learned that emotionally, if I don't deal with something, then it'll come out during that worst time. You see, so a lot of, I think for me, because of this being, growing up in a generation of like the internet and all these things, mental health.
because you've said yoga, and I know many Kenyans, for us who are millennials, I don't know what was our sport. What was your sport?
Me, I'm not a millennial.
Okay, Gen Z. You already said at 27.
I am not a millennial and I am not a Gen Z. I am that one before. And I was doing no sport.
Yeah.
I was doing no, man.
So, the yoga kind of helped me balance, you see, the drugs. So anytime I do yoga, it would be easier to manage my highs in that.
Man, you really were woke.
It's true.
If I had a smoking body like you, and maybe I would have gotten some positive from my experience.
Because the blackouts for me weren't really blackout. Like I would go a whole night.
You still remember yourself.
And I remember this happened. What I would not remember is people's names, people's faces. I would see, but like names, would have a whole conversation with somebody, and then we meet next week, and I'm just like, what was your name again? And they're just like,
that happens
what do
to
you
me
mean?
sober.
There's
That is
no
a
hope for
common problem for me.
No
I
hope
walk
for
around
you,
church and
madam.
I'm like, hey, buddy. And it's like, I know we had a half-hour conversation last week. I am terrible. And I have to like trick myself into remembering. So, hey, even if you're not.
Oh, it was definitely,
Kaka, how are you?
Yes.
it was
You always
definitely
call
a
me Kaka.
problem.
Yes, it's to avoid like this person knowing that I've forgotten them.
Their name.
Yeah.
It was definitely a problem, but I would notice people would take it personally because they know me, or rather they remember my name, they remember the conversation we had, and I'm just like, drugs. I was high. I'm sorry. Like, apologies. Can we start over? My name is, because at the time I'd be like gone and we'd be up there. And your ego is, it's working for you at the time. It's just like, this is what I do. This is who I am. Really? That's who you are at this point in time. And a lot of my own personal experiences were either heightened or lowered by drugs. So what did I learn? I really learned just that my emotional state can be very ugly. And it was not going to be solved by doing the same thing. So the drinking, the smoking, it wasn't really helping me to, become better.
That had to stop.
Exactly, that had to stop because it's like a cycle. It's like a mad cycle. And you're doing the same thing thinking, this is different, But it was never really different.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really key in both of your guys' stories is how important avoiding emotion was.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel ...
Yeah.
And the further you get into the addiction, the more prevalent that is, because it's not like you don't know you've disappointed your parents or that you're fighting with your friends or that you could have had that, but you didn't go that route. Like all those things just weigh on you more. So then that moment of sobriety where you're like, I'm not drunk. Oh man, my parents, no, I gotta get
You can't
something.
deal.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, it's like you, and then, so it was very interesting and common to hear that being a key part of your guys' journey into the addiction was that I don't want to feel these things.
Yeah.
I want to, and there's interesting that there is that focus on like ego, like I want to be great, whether it's with women, whether it's on stage, whether it's X, Y, Z. It's like, and this will make me great. So I'm
Gives you
going
a
to
boost.
take this and make me more than I think I am.
And the thing is, in your mind, it works.
Yeah, it
It
does.
works because
like
it
you said,
alters
like-
your reality.
Yeah, and you don't even get the feedback. The only thing, like you were saying, the only thing I remembered was that I was smooth.
Yeah, I was smooth
From
with
my
this
own
chick.
perspective.
So did you get her number? No.
No,
Do you
but
remember her name? No.
But I told her her slippers
Yeah,
were
but I
awesome.
told her something.
She's wearing boots. Yeah, but they were nice slippers.
Yeah, I remember a time when I was on stage, and I remember just before we got on stage, I was like, I told my friend, please just go and get us drinks, because I knew I had so much anxiety, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to go on stage without
And perform well.
without a drink, without some smoke. Come on, guys, we need to do this. And my director was insisting, like, no, you need to be sober. And I was just like, you know what? Then you're going to act. I was like, okay, fine. Do what you're going to do, but don't mess this up. I didn't mess it up because, of course, I was just like, I have to do this right. But I needed that liquid courage to get out of stage.
So
I had to.
before we can go to now that part, how you guys came out of it and you knew, like now you had come out of it, there's one question. What were the challenges that you guys were facing, trying to overcome that addiction? And then now we go straight into how did you understand that now you've overcome this and you've started living a sober life? The stories that...
Step 2, Bwana.
Yeah.
Not overcome.
Yeah, because I think many people who are still going through this, something that is so hard for many to, some drown in it.
Yeah.
And you guys, for me who's a Christian, I think you guys were chosen by God. There's just favor. Because like it's easy for you guys, because I've seen many people drowning in addiction, this abuse of drugs, and they never recover. You try to go to all these rehabilitation centers, but that does not help at all. And I know it's challenging. So how do you come out of it, or what did you do? What is this unique thing that people will also help some of those guys who are out there who are going through this?
Can I get a verse?
Yes.
For me, mine is a bit convoluted. My story,
Yeah.
because I didn't find religion, or I didn't find a relationship with Christ until after I was sober. But while I was still drinking and using drugs, what would bug me is I wanted, like we were saying about control.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be able to use these substances and not mess up. So my problem wasn't the drugs or the alcohol. I wanted to drink like normal people. I wanted to have 2 beers and kick it and relax and not get arrested. I wanted to go out drinking because I had buddies. We'd go out drinking, they'd go
then they
home,
would
I'd go
go
to
home.
jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, You went home, I went to Kamukunji. Why?
And you're like, how did I end up
How,
here?
how did I end up in Kamukunji?
We all left at the same time, no?
Yeah, but you see, they left and started going home. Me, I thought, wacha nikunywe ingine moja pale.
Exactly. That one.
Me have another drink there. So my big issue was the consequences of my drinking were so bad. But now later I've come to understand a lot about my addiction because I have an addiction. Other people don't have an addiction. So my addiction works like this. When I'm not drinking, I would obsess over alcohol. I'd be like, I'm going to get money. Let's say I get some money, so I'm like, do I have enough to get drunk? Because I never wanted money to drink. Do I have enough? If I have money to drink but not get drunk, it'll just irritate me. Yeah. So for me, even today, I still don't get it. I still don't get social drinkers. In as much as for a long time I wanted to be a social drinker, like I didn't want the consequences. I wanted what they had, but I don't get it. I say it in Kiswahili, it sounds better. Kama ukunywi ulewe, unakunywa kwa nini? If you're not drinking to get drunk, why are you drinking? You drink tea. Drink tea, you don't get a buzz. If I want a buzz, and I just don't want a buzz. I want the buzz.
Yeah.
And you see, this is the thing about the addict that is different from the other people, is that, so one, I obsess over drinking. So I'm trying to get as much money or resources so I can get drunk proper. And now the kicker is the craving. Because once I start, I will not stop.
One drink is too many.
1,000 is not enough. That's it. Because once I start drinking, I will steal, I will cheat, I will sell my shoes in the bar, buy slippers. Let me tell you,
It's a sad thing.
This one,
it's a
for
sad
those
thing,
of you out there who can relate to this, maybe you should also get help. I will be in Tao and somebody will tell me, oh, some nice kicks. I'm like, yeah, really? How much you give me for them? Be like, I'll give you 1,000 bob. And I bought these shoes maybe a few weeks ago for like 3,000 bob. You give me 1,000 bob cash. Yeah. Give me a deposit. I go to Bata, I buy slippers, I come back, I sell you the shoes. I buy slippers for 70 shillings. I get 1,000 bob, I continue drinking. That is not normal behavior.
It is not.
That is not normal behavior. But I am in the middle, I am in the grip of a craving. Because I started drinking and I must get more and more and more and more. Until, then now towards the end, I didn't even know, because now it was a game. It was like it's like in a sci-fi movie. I didn't know which drink would put me over the top. Because one day, I'd drink a liter of whiskey. I'd be fine. And the other day, I'd drink a quarter and be blacked out for a day.
Yep.
I couldn't figure it out. It was like,
The quality,
You better
man.
keep
The
doing your
quality.
experiments to figure it out.
yeah, so you're forever experimenting. Maybe it's because I smoked too much weed first. So next time I'll smoke weed after. But
You're just approaching it as a scientist, that's all.
I did. And I was in school for science. And I had a unit on fermentation.
You aced
love that.
that one. The experiments always disappeared, but you aced
all
that
the reagents from the lab disappeared. It's a terrible story. But anyway, let me tell you, it's kind of nasty story. So we're in school and we go to the lab and it's like, this is the lab I did not miss. This is the lab for fermentation. We go and we steal all the Saccharomyces. And we go and we buy, we're in Juja, which is near Thika. We go and buy mananasi. And you buy the very, very ripe ones.
The pineapples.
One, they are cheap, and two, you know that they are full of sugar.
Yeah.
And we got a bucket, and we did the fermentation process. And after 3 days, we went on the guy's whose room we were doing it in, and he wouldn't open the door. So we break in, and we found him passed out in his own sick. And what would normal people think? Oh, I'm not touching the stuff. We were like, imeiva.
It's good.
It's good. It's ready. So we moved him to the side,
Cleaned up his stuff a bit.
cleaned it a bit, and proceeded. But anyway, I get lost in my own story.
No, that's okay.
But anyway, so I have the phenomenon of a craving. Normal people who use alcohol don't have the phenomenon of craving. In fact, when Katha was talking about her story with weed and how she smoked and she was like, hey, I want a buzz, I want a bigger buzz. That's the addiction. I know people who smoke weed recreationally even today. And they'll be like, you know, I smoked a joint a couple of days ago or a
Yeah.
few weeks ago.
Does it
For them,
affect
it's,
them?
it's like easy. They're okay like
They
that.
don't have the craving.
Yeah.
They're easy with
urge.
a bit of a buzz. You will see somebody have one glass, half a glass of wine, and be like, you know, I'm good. That person does not have the phenomenon of a craving. Somebody who has the phenomenon of a craving is never good.
They need to finish the bottle and another bottle and another
It's
bottle.
another bottle and another and another and another. It's never enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, that's, and unfortunately, I learned this now in recovery.
Wow.
Because the addiction is a disease of denial. It's the disease that tells you you don't have a disease. You don't have a problem.
What you mean? You're
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah, how
You're
good.
sick.
And the worse you get, the more you hang out with people who are as bad or worse than you.
Look at that guy.
Look at that guy.
He's got a problem.
Yeah, my pal, he's passed out in his own sick. You're telling me I have a problem. This guy has a problem. Once he's
And then you
out,
take the bucket with some of his sickness in it.
and continue to drink. But once he's awake, we will figure out how to get him sober.
You don't know me, I'm even good. Guitar.
And they're all, and then your disease, my disease, progressed worse and worse. So now, if at the beginning, if somebody was passed out at Carnival, be like, wow, that dude is passed out at Carnival. That guy might need help. At the end, man, I'm drinking Changai Nikiandutu slums in Thika, now Akora. You know, so if that guy passed out, you know, that's a bad man. And it also helps my ego that I can
Comes back to
point
that, right.
and be like, that's a bad man. I'm not a bad guy.
You're good. You can control it.
As
I'm a
you've just
good
woken up mid-conversation with somebody not knowing where the past 3 days went.
Yeah, but I'm not as bad as this guy.
Yeah,
This guy is a career criminal. But also, that's another thing that happened with my disease. I started associating with people who scared me. Like when I'd be sober, I'd be like, man, Ati, where was I? Who was I with? And the funny thing is, I was hanging out with bad people in Kenya. I was hanging out with bad people even when I was in the States. Somehow, I just gravitated towards more delinquents.
Yeah.
Even when I was in the US, I used to hang out with like homeless people and, you know, and drug addicts. I would just naturally gravitate to those people.
Yeah, that spiritual battle that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Both of you guys have talked about it.
You've
It's so
talked about
real.
it.
Yeah, it's very real.
Very
Like,
spiritual.
yeah, when I see somebody talking to themselves, even now, I'm sober. I see somebody talking to themselves in Tao, they don't scare me. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. You know, the other day I saw somebody, I knew he had been trying to get sober. Unfortunately, he's not sober. And I saw him in Tao playing air guitar at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Tao. And, these days, but for the grace of God, there go I.
For sure.
That is me.
That working with addicts. For
Yeah,
years.
playing air guitar, wearing slippers in Tao in the middle of the day. That is me.
Someone is wondering what's
This
up with
is
this
the
dude.
grace of God.
For
And
sure.
for me, I know in my own journey of recovery, and here's where sometimes the tears come, the water. But today, hopefully, I can put it together. Is where I'm humbled. I don't know why God got me sober. I wasn't a good person. You know, when you're hanging out with thugs in Kiandutu, it's because you have something in common with them.
I'm sorry whenever you say Kiandutu, it's just I'm picturing
Because
it
you know
and
what
I'm like,
Kiandutu means?
Yeah.
Place of jiggers. You know what jiggers are? The parasites that get
Yeah,
your toes?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's called. That's the place.
And it's crazy.
It is not a beautiful
Yeah.
tourist.
More funny
Don't go
now.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, so so for God to remove me from that life. So my story of addiction, alcoholism, and recovery is, even me, I'm surprised. I'm like, this is amazing stuff. Because I went to private school. Dude, my parents paid a pretty penny for me to go to private school,
Yeah.
to
University in the
University in the US, in
Yeah,
the UK.
go to the
In fact,
UK.
you went both Europe.
Yeah, I went to Europe, and and for me to be there, mess that up royally,
Yeah.
come back and still mess up royally in Kenya, but for God to somehow transform this life into the life I have today is is nothing short of miraculous, you know. And people think like, you know, miracles happen in the Bible, which is all great for those Jewish guys back in the day. But today, and because I'm in recovery and I'm in a community of recovery people, my story is a miracle, but I see miracles daily.
For real.
I see guys come in with mismatched slippers. I see them in 3
They were
months.
cheaper.
Yeah, they're probably on discount. No, or you know the slippers.
Oh, you collected
For
them.
those of you who know, the lodgings, you know the slippers with the holes at the bottom.
Oh, yes.
That they cut out and you've got the cheap lodgings so you don't steal them. You see a guy come into recovery with mismatched slippers with holes in them. And you see him in 3 months. And you see him in 6 months. And then you see him get a job. And you see him get married. And you see him after 5 years. And you see him as Baba Nani. How can you not say they are miracles?
No, those are miracles.
Those
yeah.
are miracles. And
There's unique information about alcoholism in particular being unable to be conquered without a higher power.
yeah,
That it's like you can do all your mind tricks you want, but until those first 3 steps of AA, that you admit you have the problem, that there's a God who can handle it, and you submit it over to Him, like there's not hope.
Yeah.
there's none.
Like that you have to acknowledge that you can't handle, and you have to give this away. And it's just incredible. You know, it's just incredible to see it happen.
Wow.
So yeah, so that's my story.
Wow.
Wow.
And life is good. Yeah, life is good. When I remember, because I'm still an addict, I forget. And my disease is still with me. So in you mentioned the steps. So there's the second step that says, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And the reason I like step 2 particularly is because, one, I acknowledge that I'm insane. And my insanity is twofold. So when I was drunk, I did incredible stuff. If I tell you some of my drunken stories, I'm like, wow, that was crazy stuff. And that's all well and good because I was drunk. But I have the insanity that I will live with until the day I die. The insanity that tells me, today it'll be different. Yeah,
That
today,
cycle.
today I can joint banner, it won't hurt. I'm at Taylor's, it's Tigoni, it's beautiful, man. Smoking a joint in the grass, look at the stars, it's fantastic. You know, there's so some time ago I was doing a job, I was traveling a lot, and I was in Timao, the road to Meru, between Meru and Nanyuki. It's beautiful with the wheat fields and everything. And I'm by myself, and there's a boulder in the middle of like it's desolate, you know. And I think, man, that would be a nice place to smoke a joint.
Yeah.
And I'm by myself. And I'm sober like, you know, X amount of years at this time.
But it's still calm.
And that is my
calling.
insanity that is with me until the day I die. And that is why I don't try and live sober by myself. I am in community. I'm in community with other recovering alcoholics and addicts because we speak the same language. When I tell a recovering alcoholic or an addict that story, we can both laugh because we understand, that's our normal crazy. That's our normal everyday. But when I tell, I wouldn't share such a story very flippantly with like my wife, because my wife only knows me as a recovering person, as somebody who's sober. Would scare her. Like, you mean
You thought about doing it again?
again? After all the stories I've had? Oh, she
You
hasn't had,
thought
but
of it again. Oh
Yeah.
my.
oh man, so there's a day my dad, I don't know what was up with him, but he starts funguaing stories to my wife. You found this one when he was good. Let me tell you. I was like, Dad, kanyakia, bana."
Don't share that part.
But
You
part of
might
the
scare this
reason,
person.
part of the reason we can laugh with my dad is I've done my step 9 amend with my father. I've done my amends with my father, with my mother, with my sisters. I have apologized. I did it. I wrote letters and stuff like that. I don't make excuses for what I did. I was suffering a disease, and I'm not responsible for the disease, but I am responsible for my recovery.
Yeah.
I am responsible for mending those relationships, for being a bad brother, for not showing up for people, for not showing up, you know, or showing up in a condition where people are like, I wish you hadn't shown up.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, but so you know, it's a wonderful life, this life of recovery. But like I keep saying, I can't do it alone because of that insanity, because of
That voice, that ever
That
pressure
voice
to go back is
Still
that
there.
always
tells
there.
you know, it's a beautiful day, it's sunny, man, a nice cold Tusker, it's not
Hey,
bad.
it's perfect for a day like
Ah, and today you have more money than you did those days. You know, when you were drinking changa, leo utakunywa changa, utakunywa bia mbili uende home. Shida ni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this. Yeah, very true.
Yeah. So but anyway, that's so you were asking about how I got into recovery. And
Yes.
it's because I ended up in a fellowship.
Ah.
And that fellowship is a fellowship which, you know, we share each other experience, strength, and hope. We strengthen each other. People watched me come in. I've watched others come in. I have a sponsor. I sponsor people. I have other men who I sponsor. It's a whole network. And in fact, when I told you, like, so it's cool, this thing is on Tuesday, because Tuesday is my fellowship day.
Yeah. Sawa.
Yeah, so I do that meeting 12:30 to 1:30. I meet my sponsees at that time for about an hour or so. Depends. Sometimes nobody shows up. Sometimes
Yeah.
guys shows up. Whatever. I'm available. And then, you know, here I am bad talking about recovery. So it kind of fits in my day.
Okay, wow.
That's beautiful.
Wow, this is tough. Joy,
Okay.
it's heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
Challenge. The challenge for me. I think it's still a challenge.
Yeah.
Even to date. That because one, I am young. Two, I'm an artist in a space that is already so filled with drugs. And so even whenever I go into spaces, I know I have those insane thoughts. And if there's anything I can really say that has grounded me, it's the power of the Holy Spirit. Because every single time I have been in spaces and I'm like, I want a drink so bad. And I'm like, Holy Spirit, just come upon me, man, because I can't do it without you. And I say, hold my hand today. And let me tell you, that entire night, I will feel like I'm high, even if I'm not. And I'm just like, it's an ecstatic joy. But I know for certain that I'm struggling with those thoughts. And those thoughts will always, like, they're always there. They'll be like, it's just one drink, it's just one smoke. And I know, especially after I stopped smoking weed, I struggled with nicotine. I struggled with smoking cigarettes and vapes. I know I did. And I would,
That's hard.
yeah. And I would constantly just want to reach out for a vape or, you know, be in spaces with my friends. I'm like, yeah, just a vape. It's just it's not mine, so I'm not going home with it. So I'm not going to crave it later, but really, I will crave it at some point. And during that night, I'm going to smoke so much because I'm like, I missed that certain high, you know. So now, now I've cut off both nicotine, smoking cigarettes, and weed, I'm just like, any space I'm at and I know it's there, I can't lean on my own strength at all. I really just can't. It's even from somebody as young as me who has gone through yoga, I've done so many things to try and, you know, summon this higher power in myself, you know. It comes from an egotistical perspective, thinking that I have that control, or I can be able to hold on to that control and say, I can do this. No, God can do that for me. And every time I said, I can do it, I fell. On my knees, every single time. And I'd start over again and I'm like, oh Lord, I knew I couldn't do it, but I decided to do it on my own strength. And there's a verse I was actually reading that says, Romans 7. I love God's law with all my heart, but there's another power within me that is at war with my mind. And I think that really always was a challenge, like fighting my own thoughts, fighting my own thinking that I'll be able to maneuver this craving, this, you know, addiction on my own. And for me to have gotten to a place of surrender and say, you know what, I think I really do have a problem, I cried out to God on my own, and I knew for certain that I could not do this without some sort of guidance. So I went to church, And the moment I stepped into church, I just felt this church was like, there's definitely some kind of power.
Because you saw Surah Al-Muzuri.
I've got that effect.
Yeah, so this church is, my best friend just invited me during the, this was last year actually. And she invited me, it was the last Sunday of 2024. And I was like, okay, let me go before. So I went there and I was just like, something just pulled me forward to go and be prayed for. And I was one of those critics who's like, me siezi anguka, like, I can't fall. And me, you put hands on me, you think I'm going to fall? Nah. But that day, till now, I can't explain that force that was on me. And every time I speak that story, like I'm even shaking right now because I'm like, it's like the craving instantly just kind of just started getting replaced. And I wanted to now read the word more, and I wanted to please God with my ways, with what I was doing. Like I was now seeking to, be in the presence of God. But still, it was such a challenge, knowing that my friends still smoke, and they also drink, and I'll be in these spaces, and I need to be disciplined, enough to say no. Because that was my greatest weakness. Like, that's still my greatest weakness, saying no. And I'm working on that because, you can't keep saying yes to everything. Every single time I would say yes, I'd hear like my spirit saying, but you don't want it. What's wrong with you? And every time I do it, I'd be like, okay, so I'm doing this thing, and I know God, you don't want me doing this thing, but God, please just hold my hand. And I would remember being in like clubs and just thinking of Christ, and I'm just like, why? Why am I thinking of Jesus right now? I want to be having fun. Like, why am I thinking of the Holy Spirit? So the moment I realized this is a power that cannot leave me, because I've been brought up in a Christian home. My dad's a pastor. My mom's very spiritual. She's very prayerful. So I know their prayers like really held on to me. Alcoholism is a problem in my family. It is. And I know it, but they probably don't. But yeah, that's a story for another day. I know it's a challenge for me still because my flesh is weak. But I thank Jesus. Why? Because it's by his compassion that he did not leave my side, even when I was in the pits, even when I was in those shacks, even when I was in Juja drinking Moratina, doing all these things and drinking cheap liquor, feeling like my liver will leave me, my kidneys, it's weakening. I'm like, yo, what's up? Christ never left my side. For whatever reason. I also don't think I have a reason as to why I understand why he chose me. But I knew it had to stop. I knew deep in me that it had to stop, and I knew deep in me that God wanted different for me. I knew deep in me that the trouble that I had been putting on my family was too much. I was causing them so much pain. Like my mom, she saw me in such terrible states. Like, it was so ugly. And she still kept praying for me. That. We said we was not going to get emotional.
No, we did. That.
We've got...
And I just, oh, God. I don't know why God just chose me of all the people to sit here and talk about this, because I can't say I've gotten a grip of it. I can't say I am in recovery. I know a few friends who keep me accountable, who walk with me through this journey, and they are like, yo, how are you doing? Are you good? But I also have friends who are like, yo, bado umeacha Are you
ready
still?
yet?
Are you sure?
Uko tayari sasa?
Are you
You
sure?
know, so it's like a cry for help. Every time that happens, I want to pray for them so much, and I do. I pray for them, and I'm grateful and feeling blessed that the friends I have now can respect my decision of saying no to drinking, to smoking, and now it's inspiring them not to smoke. You know, now I'm like, yeah, I've gone a year, guys. Like, it's possible. Me, who used to bring you J's, like, I'd bring like 10 J's. Like, I don't even know where this man used to, like, 10, you'd bring like 10 J's, a bottle, and food and fruits. Because that's how my mother raised me. Go with, you know, gifts.
Go with the drugs. Your mom raised you that way.
No, go with the gifts. Like, whenever you go into an African home, you know, or into anyone's home, you know you go with gifts. So I would be that person. I'd go with gifts. I'd go with fruits. My friends knew this. Like, Nkata will come with something. Nkata will come with something. Don't worry about it. So now to be in a place where I can say no and have support and have friends follow suit is inspiring. And it's like, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this. I haven't joined AA. I don't think I even have the courage for it yet. But I'm grateful that I can sit here and say that I'm 60-something days sober off of drinking alcohol
Wow.
and a year clean off of smoking weed.
It's a hard journey.
It's not easy. And anyone going through this, like, they know, maybe they are just trying to get, you know, or trying to tell themselves it's not a problem. It's not a problem. But yo,
It is.
like, it's a problem. And it's okay. Like, it's okay to say that it's a problem. That way you know you can get help. That way you know you can. It's your first step to getting the right people in your space.
Yeah.
So for me that was a challenge, like, and it's still a challenge. But just the thing that keeps me going is I know sometimes, I don't know if this is a thing in recovery where people, like, you remember the bad days and you're like, nah, I can't go back there.
Oh yeah, it definitely helps.
Yeah. So sometimes I find myself being like, you remember you did this? No, you can't do it again. I remember I was so high at some point. I smoked so much weed, and I think I was also drunk or something, tipsy. So I'm emptying my plate, and I threw the plate in the bin.
Again, they keep talking about things that they've done while under the influence. And I've done all this stuff while I'm sober.
You have a program for you.
I think now.
I'll join you Tuesday. We'll see each other.
Yeah.
No. We won't take you. You need your own. you need your own.
Like, I know that's a problem because you don't do something that's not normal for you for me to throw a plate in the bin, and then my mom finds it and she's just like,
Did you do this?
I'm like, me? No. So later on when I'm sober, it comes back to me like, you emptied it and you threw the saucer inside the bin. And I'm just like, okay, something has got to give. Like, I need to give up something.
It's interesting, like, what brings us to the point where we're realizing that this thing can't continue.
Yeah.
And I've heard stories. I worked at a recovery center for many years, and I've heard stories about guys who, the wide variety of reasons that they essentially woke up that they have a problem. One of it, like one of a dear friend of mine, like, he put a piece of paper, he put all of the things that he likes to do for fun on the right side when he's drunk or when he's high. And he put all of the things he likes to do for fun when he's sober. And he had been in and out of the courts, he had done these things, whatever, and he was looking at that page, and the left side was empty. That was what brought him. He's like, I can't do anything without this substance. Another guy this is more funny, but he said, I decided I needed to get sober because every time I got drunk and I would wake up, somebody had pooped in my pants.
What?
Yes. But, so it's
Wow.
just, as you guys are watching this, I hope you understand that, like, this is not some strange person that's far from you. Everything that you have heard today is for you. well, I don't have an addiction, Taylor. But you notice both of them talked about being alone. Like not being able to talk to somebody. You can be that person that is close enough and open enough and has enough grace to say, just come and share. I know you're feeling alone. You've been off lately. Be that person. Oh, I don't have an addiction. Yeah, but you can be part of the solution. You can be part of the support that people call and say, hey, bro, I'm really feeling this. Hey, I'm here. I'll come pick you up. Whatever. And so as you guys have watched, like there has been awesome stories, great examples, and really like a good and awesome insight into some wonderful people's lives. It's not unique to them. Not only the addiction side of it, all of us are, Gitao talked about, therefore by the grace of God go I.
Yeah.
That's not just for recovering addicts. In the many years working in recovery, I realized very quickly how even coming from two-parent household, all of the things that, would line me up, there is a razor-thin edge separating me from being in addiction.
Yeah.
And so there's that same kind of pride that, I could never go there. That will lead you exactly there. Because you're a super person. I can handle all this stuff. That's the beginning of the lie.
Yeah.
Taylor.
You can't.
And just to add, like, it's interesting when you're in these spaces and you're drinking and you think, I just have a drinking problem, but now you're introduced to more drugs. So I've been in spaces I've not just done weed but I've done others that I shouldn't probably talk about, but
They're here. Yeah,
they're here and youth are doing them, and it's like, this is the normal. If you're not doing Molly, you ain't cool. Can I get a plug?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is a problem. It's really a problem. So, yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah,
So
and
if
as you've heard them both talk, they're both at different spaces in their journey. Whether it's recent or many years, that journey continues. That struggle is every day. You have to wake up and say, today is not different.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be powerful enough to overcome the thing that crushed how many years of my life.
Yeah.
I have to wake up every day and decide, I'm one more day.
One more day.
One more day.
A day at a
Crumbling.
time.
Yeah, it's another theme of AA, that you don't count your time. Your sponsor counts as your time, because you just take one day at a time.
Yeah.
Whether you've had the 6 weeks sobriety, 25 years, or 6 hours, you just worry about that day. That's the day that you'll be sober. But what about tomorrow? I've got the funeral of it. You'll worry about tomorrow when tomorrow's there.
Comes.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, carry on.
I found myself now every Friday, especially during the first few months, now looking for things to do to replace that time that I
Karibu.
would,
Yeah.
want to smoke or drink. Now I'm watching movies or being in the house with my parents, and it's fun. It's like I get to spend time with family, which is better. But at first it was hard to just be able to, like, especially because I live in Gara, and so we are surrounded by clubs like everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So it's at night, you're just hearing
And you're
music.
like, I will be there.
It's literally calling to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the craziest thing, because the enemy will it's one thought, like just one beer.
But even in the silence of Tigoni,
Yeah,
or in the
you'll
middle
still
of nowhere
think
where
of
you
it.
see a rock,
Exactly.
It's because it's you.
You still
Just
think of
one
it.
beer, and you're just like, but this beer will turn to two.
eh?
And then these two beers will turn into a boti.
And then it will be
And then it'd be like
Every
4 other
day.
days. I actually listened to this lady saying when you drink, it takes your body 4 days to actually now come back to
To
sobriety.
process it. I've smelled guys after they've been drinking.
Oh,
you
yeah.
can smell, you've been drinking.
And your system is just drunk for 4 days.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, this isn't
Like coming out of
helping
your
me.
skin.
Yeah.
Like you can smell the
Has
sweet.
anyone here, well, maybe this is the wrong forum. Umewahi kunywa mnazi, the one from the coast.
Kwanzaa, that one.
Oh man, that thing stinks going in, and it stinks even worse coming out. And you will
Mnazi
tell
is-
somebody after 4 or 5 days, hey, ulikuwa umekunywa mnazi. That thing is
Nazi is palm juice.
It's palm, it's
wine.
from palm wine.
Yeah, palm
Yeah.
wine.
Oh,
And it's very
wow.
Yes,
So-
very strong.
Ah man, there was a time I was a superstar in Mombasa with mnazi.
I remembered also my time with Mnazi. Oh my Lord. I have drunk so much. I even
And
bought
it's sweet.
Mnazi
It's
for
kind
my-
of like
So it
bora.
like tricks you because
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it tastes good. It's not
Yeah.
like burning on
Well,
the way down.
It stinks, but it tastes good. It's
Yeah.
it's also a confusing
yeah,
drink.
people that eat like weird cheeses like that, like brie and, it smells like feet. Why would I put it in my
You know, I
mouth?
remember
Disgusting.
bringing Mnazi all the way from coast to Nairobi.
And it made it.
It made it because I was
In
have
one
been told.
cup. She brought 5 liters, but
I
one
never-
cup made it.
Can you
Mine
imagine?
never made it past boy.
I
I
just
tried.
kept opening it because I wanted. Obviously, I would drink some, and then I got to Nairobi and I wanted to, give some to my then boyfriend. Lol. Yeah. So the reason I quit smoking weed, is because I was in this place, and something off was said, and I was just like, I was so angry, and the weed was passed to me, and I was like, Stacky, I don't want it. I don't want it. Like, I think that was the end for me. So I was like, nah,
So
enough.
Enough is enough.
I think I just throw in something here to add on what Nkatha was talking about when you're in these circles of, the hard drinking and the smoking weed and stuff, you do expose yourself to, well, there's the violence. And it's especially dangerous for ladies. So there's sexual violence as well, even for men, but I
Nowadays,
think
in
more so for
fact.
ladies. But also you get exposed to drugs that you are not planning on taking.
Yep.
yeah.
But one, you are in a state where you're not making good decisions. So I got high on opium once, and I thought it was weed. So I was at a party, and it was going round, and I puffed, and it went round, and puffed again. I was like, whoa, this is different.
And it's good.
And the guy was like, yeah, because this is opium, this ain't weed. And I was like, oh, well, it's too late now.
Might as well take it.
But that's that kind of trajectory. I've been in places where I helped a guy move, and he was a drug dealer friend of mine because it's just circles I was rolling in, and he paid me in cocaine, and because cocaine is very expensive, and that's just the kind of circle. So you're part of the progression is. There's the physical progression in your body and in your addiction, but there's also the downward progression of the kind of people you associate with, the kind of lifestyle you lead. So you end up knowing, like I was talking about, knowing criminals and prostitutes and this kind of people, kind of like the underbelly of society, because. Like I know if I end up when I was using drugs and alcohol, if I end up in a strange town and I didn't know where to get weed, I'd go to where the prostitutes were. Because hookers always know where to get drugs.
Yeah.
And, I'd be in a strange town. I'd be like, Sawa, I can't find my way around here. I'd look for a place with, short skirts, high boots, and,
There is it.
yeah, I'd strike up conversation and I'd get what I needed. Drug-wise, not the other one.
Yeah.
Because luckily for me, I think, but I've also had something else to mention about, the prostitutes and things like that. Also, your sexual habits are very risky.
Yeah.
You are not making good decisions
Yep.
in a
Yeah.
blackout.
Yeah.
So I know people in recovery who are HIV positive, and they discovered they were HIV positive while in recovery.
Wow.
I got my HIV test in recovery, and it was terrifying.
Yeah, I bet.
It was terrifying because I didn't know where I'd been or who I'd been with sometimes. And I remember getting tested, and man, I danced for joy because it was negative. But there are people who are less fortunate,
And they're positive.
Yeah.
and they're positive.
I think for me, what I danced for joy was never getting pregnant. I was like,
Yeah,
hallelujah.
yeah, because you end up doing all sorts of
For real.
risky, and I like I said earlier, I am not millennial and I am not Gen Z. But my alcoholism had gotten me to a point where I was questioning my sexuality. Because I would be, when women are funny, sometimes women would be attracted to drunkards because maybe her father is a drunk and she finds that very appealing. I'd be hit on by chicks and I would not go with the lady because I was drinking. I remember one lady and she invited me to her place and food was on the table, I could put two and two together. I knew where this was going, and I get a text from my buddy. And his text was very short. Do imeingia. The money has arrived. We were in campus, so his help money had come in. I'm looking at the lady and I'm looking at the text. I'm like, I'll be back in a minute.
Let me
Hapana.
go for the other one. Yeah,
The food is still cold.
But I'd make decisions like that, and then now, because it's not like I was a moral person. It's not like I wasn't hitting this because it's not the moral thing to do. And I'd ask myself, what's wrong with me? This is a beautiful lady. Vitu zimeandaliwa na unakataa because of alcohol. I didn't know then because it was because of alcohol. But at the time, I was like, am I gay or something? What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And
alcohol has taken over.
alcohol has taken over. Nothing else is important.
Than that.
Everything else is plan B.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Family relationships.
Family,
it doesn't matter.
everything else is plan
And I think for dudes who get to that state, like women are secondary. Alcohol become
Alcohol is primary.
Alcohol
Primary.
is
Period.
primary.
yeah.
And also, biologically, things stop working the way they should.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's
I've heard of
true.
That one as well.
The engine struggle to
The
start.
engine struggles to start. And these are just facts. And, sometimes that is a saving. It's a saving grace. Especially when you think about, the repercussions. But in your mind, you're like, this is not how this is supposed to work. Yeah. I just thought I should throw that in there.
No, it's very true.
Thank you.
Guys, I don't think it will end.
Yeah, we could keep going. Hakuna Shida. We could keep talking.
This
but
will not. We started when there was sun. And now I can barely see. I think there's a moon somewhere, but I haven't seen it. But these are heavy things.
Yeah.
These are really heavy things, and I know we are all affected, and some of us are struggling with these things. And I don't want even us to stop talking about these things because they are very educational, and we are creating space where people can ask for help, where you can understand that you are struggling with this kind of things, because people out there are struggling with this. But don't be shy. Guitar has talked about the community. She's talked about the community, and I think it's very important sometimes when you're in a community to just seek help. And it's more important to know that I've got this problem and how I can solve it. Not many of us are fortunate to get to this space, and if you're watching and you're going through this and you've got someone who's going through this, a baby steps are always there. And yeah, it's just a sad state that happens in the society that I really get emotional when I talk about this. And I think we'll be coming to the end of this.
yeah, we have to.
We
We'd love to keep
really have
continuing,
to.
But I know Gitao has a shuka on him, but it's
Yes.
not enough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're
But
in Tigoni.
Before we leave, I just want to give me a parting shot.
Yes.
Dogo.
Yes.
So we've talked a lot about the funny things, the bad things about alcoholism and drug addiction. But I want people to remember that this thing is a disease.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of stigma regarding alcoholism, regarding drug addiction. It's your fault, it's this person's fault, or they should have known. We don't always know, and we don't always make the right decision. Some people start when they're young, everybody's experimenting, and then somebody ends up becoming an alcoholic. But if somebody in your family or in your circles is an alcoholic or a drug addict, they are suffering from a disease. So they also need compassion.
Yeah.
They need help, they need compassion. So they are, luckily for us in this time, I can be on, YouTube or whatever and talk about stuff like this. So if it's your loved one, take them to a rehab. Take them to talk to a counselor. It doesn't mean that they will get sober, but it also means that even you can get the help you need, because alcoholism and addiction damages all relationships.
Everyone around.
Everyone around you. So the mother is sick, the father is sick, the wife, the husband, the children, everybody is sick from this disease. So everybody needs recovery. So whether or not your person will get recovery or whether they will stop, even you need your help for yourself. Eric, you talked about how it's affecting everyone. If you are affected, there are programs for the affected family. There are programs for the wife, for the children, for those people who are growing up with an alcoholic dad or a drug addict mom and stuff like that. So get the help that you need, because this disease makes everybody around them sick. And everybody needs to recover.
Yeah.
Whether or not the primary addict recovers the people around them also need their own recovery, so that they know how to handle this person. And maybe by being in that space of recovery in that relationship, this other person might see their faults. They talk about things like tough love, of loving the addict and not, and hating the addiction.
Yeah.
So that you can love this person. So like, I'll give an example. I heard of a lady who is in Al-Anon, which is a sister program to AA, that as a wife of an alcoholic husband, she'd make sure food was always ready. But she would not go to the bar to get her husband to come eat. Because that is a sick relationship. But you as the wife, she'd prepare the food and make sure the house is the way it's supposed to be. Whatever condition he is in when he comes, he will find that she has done her wifely role. I'm just giving this as an example. So, this is a disease, but we all need to recover.
Yes.
The people who love the addict and the addict themselves. Let's not add part of
Yeah.
that.
I think a lot of people today have a problem with that, of being able to say, your lifestyle, what you're doing is wrong, I still love you.
Yeah.
It's not only hard for people to say that, because it's very easy to just say, oh, you're doing this, I hate you. It's very easy to handle the big, I'm just going to throw this big cutoff towards you, as opposed to, okay, here's how I'm going to interact with you because you're behaving this way and doing these things. I'm setting up these boundaries. That's much harder. And so as you guys have watched this, you have seen God's impact on both of these people's lives, and how he has developed and grown them in a way that has called them out of addiction, whether it's be recently or many years ago. And you heard some funny stories. You heard about the feelings that happen when you're in the throes of that addiction and you feel invincible. But I think it's important that we note it was all a lie. We weren't invincible. We weren't being smooth. We weren't getting the stuff done. We weren't doing all the things that we thought. So we live this lie until we realize this is a lie. I can't put my trust in this. So as you guys watch this and appreciate our guests, just know that in your life there are changes to be made. Whether it's, as Gitao said, having compassion on somebody. That doesn't mean caring for them in an unhealthy way. It just means that instead of your quick judgment, he's just an alcoholic, I don't want to talk to him, you understand that almost always these addictions come from trauma.
Yeah.
It comes from something very difficult that people don't want to deal with. So they use a substance. So having that compassion on them can do two things. One, it's very good for you to keep your heart soft.
Yeah.
Because someday, even after 50 years, a father can become a father again. And if your heart is so hard, you'll miss out even on those 5-10 years that he has to offer after he becomes sober.
Yeah.
Wow.
So keep your heart soft, but also that person then gets to see a healthy relationship. And in that mirror, they can sometimes see that there's something that has to change. So we very much appreciate you guys' time today. Like, comment, but
May-
really,
before we-
hey, Sawa.
Parting shot
Sorry,
here.
parting shot, completely. This is not just addiction for drugs. This also applies for addiction like on social media. That's a thing.
Sex. We talked
Every
about
type of
pornography
addiction.
and all those kind of things.
Exactly.
It's all the lie.
Yeah.
Like even porn, you feel like,
Yeah,
This
there's an
applies
art.
for everything basically. And when you begin this journey of recovery, please celebrate the small wins.
for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Celebrate the small wins because they'll keep you going.
Yes.
Tell somebody, tell that person who you know will celebrate with you.
Yeah.
Because they're going to really encourage you to keep going, especially if they've been on the journey before.
Yeah.
That's how it's kept me going. I will be like, hey mom, by the way, I'm 6 months. So but she'll be like, what? She'll bake me cake.
Hey! Let us know when that's happening.
And
Yeah.
it's very small, but it's very significant because
Oh, it's not small.
No, it's not small.
It's not
You
small.
can never be small.
It's not
exactly
small.
Every
it's really
day.
not.
Is a
There's the
conquering that-
drowning. The drowning is bigger.
Exactly.
That's
So
big.
those small, yeah.
No, go for it.
Those small wins are so important. That's why we're here telling you, like, don't be afraid to speak up about it. As much as there's so much stigma and all, just try and reach out to that one person you feel like you can really just trust and be like, yo, I think I have a problem.
Yes,
For real, for real. Otherwise, man, it's God just holding us all together.
Yeah, true.
Very true.
Yeah, but thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we thank you guys for joining us. And as you've heard, community is so important. We have another podcast you guys can go back and watch about how to choose a church, because a healthy church is a great place to find this. If you can find healthy people that are not going to look at you and say, hey, you're this kind of person, get away from me. Like, that is the game changer, as you've heard from both of them talk about. That community, those people, so important. Also, be that person.
Yeah.
When somebody tells you, hey, I decided to stop drinking, and you don't even want to talk to that person anymore because you've given them so much money and they've always raked you over the coals and never paid you back, just celebrate with them. Just like, bro, are you serious? Choma time. Let's go.
Yeah.
Because like those things, it is very encouraging.
Yeah.
So we so appreciate you. I think Eric has a hand gesture to give us to sign us off today. But we so much appreciate you guys and hope you've learned something. Like, comment, let us know what you think, what questions you have, maybe for another time when we have other guests, or if you'd like to see them back, just let us know. We're very excited to hear what you have to say.
Let me not say much. See you next time.
Or is that what we're doing?
Woo!
Wow.